Hi, this is Dan Rochon. I am with the Consistent Predictable Income Community, the author of Real Estate Evolution. Thanks for tuning in for today's show with Scott Carson. Today, we're going to talk about the three most important things that you can do in your business today to be able to drive results.
This is the Note Closer Show, where you get the latest developments in distressed note investing and learn the secrets of how you can control millions of dollars worth of property for pennies on the dollar. Get educated and entertained by someone who has closed thousands of deals and lives to support you in achieving the same. Now, here's your host, CEO of We Close Notes, Scott Carson.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome to this episode of the Note Closer Show. As always, Scott Carson here for you today. Excited to have a very special guest joining us on here. This guy is a rock star, kicking ass, taking names. And the most important thing that I love about, he's got a huge heart in wanting to help take as many people along on the path to success as he possibly can. He is the head coach and visionary at Greetings, Virginia Sales Network. He's also the author of Real Estate Evolution, the 10-step guide to CPI. We'll discuss what CPI is. Hopefully you know what the hell it is for real estate agents, and the host of the CPI Community Podcast. He's seen hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of agents and entrepreneurs fail in business, and he's passionate about helping people not only stay in the business, but thrive in it. An investor and realtor with over 20 years of experience. We're honored to have our buddy Dan Rochon join us here from the wonderful world of Virginia. How's it going, buddy?
Hey, Scott, it's fantastic. Thank you, sir, for hosting me today.
No problem, man. So you really have a huge passion. I say that because I always like to listen to episodes, not of your podcast. I do a little bit before I go on, but I like listening to people on other people's podcasts and what they're saying. So it keeps it fresh for everybody, right? You know, we don't want to say the same thing, but let's start off first with, how did you get the idea to launch the CPI community? Let's share for those that don't know what CPI means. Let's talk a little about how important, especially what's going on in the world today.
Okay. So CPI is consistent and predictable income for salespeople. And I started that community at the beginning of 2019, end of 2018. And I did so because previous to that, so I got my real estate license in 2007. I've been investing for maybe a decade plus before then. And so when I got my license in 2007, first 6 months of my career was tough. I had zero closings. And then I came up with a plan with my broker at the time. And we came up with a plan to implement and had some success. So the next 12 months of my career had some success, so much so I was able to buy the brokerage that I worked for 18 months after I got my license. So I owned that for 10 years until 2018. And in 2018, I sold that. And then as I sold it, I was, looking at this business, the real estate sales business, the real estate investing business has been so kind to me. And I knew I was ready for the next part of my journey. I just, didn't quite know what that was. So I met with a mentor, and he had challenged me to write Real Estate Evolution, basically documenting the journey and documenting the steps along the way. And I did so. And that was it took me 13 months to write that book at a pace of 3 hours a day. I didn't take a single day off when I was writing. And through the evolution of writing the book and, taking what I've learned, lots of bumps and bruises, a few successes, and started the CPI community.
I love it. Now, we talked a few minutes before we got rock and rolling here. Mm-hmm. And one thing, you've got a passion for helping people get through that journey. How despairing is it sometimes when you look at the numbers and the percentage of people that just give up on their dreams before they ever get rock and roll? They give up after that first hiccup. You know what I mean?
I was talking to a group of salespeople I was coaching earlier today, and we were talking about a specific tactic. And the tactic that it was how to approach for sale by owners, right? So it's unique to my business, my industry, right? But for the purpose of the listener, just consider whatever you are doing. It was a tactic, in the business. And there's an agent I was coaching, and she's been implementing this for 4 months. And new agent, she just took her 6th listing today. All right. And so I was acknowledging her, but mostly what I was acknowledging her was because she was doing the strategy day after day after day after day, and it produces results. So whatever it is in business that, somebody is seeking to do, I look at, okay, what is it that you enjoy to do? That's the first piece. Now, if you like doing it, now let's do a strategy where we're going to do that and only that. And that's going to be your lead generation strategy. And we're going to put that on steroids. And she's going to be pacing. I mean, she's rather new on this, but I wouldn't be surprised. She'll definitely be over 50 listings in 12 months period. That will be before she hits 18 months. And it's the same thing that I did 15 years ago as an agent, to be able to create enough profit, enough revenue to be able to, purchase a rather large organization. And, and from there, I just learned so much, right? So it's just about doing, one or maybe 2 strategies consistently, day after day after day, but do whatever it is that you like. And then everything else, no. That's the answer to it. No.
I love that, because saying no to all the other things, all the shiny object syndromes, is actually saying yes to success, as I like to say. We see that, and I know you've seen it, people go to these real estate expos or investing expos, and they're chasing subject to deals, or they're chasing foreclosures, or they're chasing notes, or they want to be an apartment investor. They're literally watering down their success because they're not giving things time to grow. They're not really measuring what's really working. Trying, the grass is greener over there. Let me go over there. You know what I mean? And it's not always the case. You just got to give things time. And that's like the whole thing. You've got to have measure results and then refocus your efforts, right?
And it all works. Almost every single strategy. I should even take the word almost. Every single strategy works when you give it enough time to be able to produce results. Which goes back to, what strategy are you going to employ? Am I going to look for multifamily if I'm an investor, or notes, or whatever the case may be? Or if I'm in a different type of business, am I going to do this or I'm going to do that? Whatever that is, make sure that you enjoy it. And it goes back to that every single time that you do say yes to something, that one yes, there's one yes, which equals an infinite amount of no's.
Yes.
And when you recognize that, you start to value that one yes. Because Scott, you and I right now, we're having this conversation, but guess what I'm not doing? I'm not eating barbecue. You mentioned barbecue before the show, right? I'm not skydiving. I'm not, running or jogging. I'm not spending time with my daughter or my wife. What I'm doing is I'm having fun with you, Scott, because this is what I said yes to. Mm-hmm. And every single other possibility with infinity, I said no to. So when you recognize that, you get very, very careful with what you do say yes to.
Mm-hmm. It's a huge thing. I was literally talking about in the episode I recorded yesterday, how so important it is to time block your schedule. And I know you're a fan of following other successful people, other mentors, whether that you've met them or you haven't met them, and seeing their success habits and what they do, down to what type of water do they drink and what are the morning habits are. Yeah, I got to thank our mutual friend Whitney for having you on his podcast. Yeah. I was listening to that one earlier in the week and cracking up at it, because success is a repeatable thing. It's not having to reinvent the wheel, right?
It's just about habits.
Exactly.
That's all it is. It's just about habits. It's about habits through time. So that's the other piece, is when you have a goal and you start to do something, if you don't give it enough time, it won't produce results. And that's what many people do. What many entrepreneurs do is say, well, I'll do this and I'll do it for 3 weeks. And there's not enough success. It took me 6 months to get my first closing. Well, by my 3rd year in business, I was doing more than 100 transactions a year. Mm-hmm. If I would have gauged my 3rd month in business as a predictor of my 3rd year in business, I would have missed the mark big time. Okay. And I would have probably be doing exactly what I did before I got into business, which is waiting tables. Well, guess what? I'm 48 years old, right? Like I am not so, it's cool, whatever you want to do in your life, right? For me personally, waiting tables is not, it's not something that's calling to me. Right. You know, like I'm not so interested.
You know, but I think though, the fact that you've done that in your past, Grant, same here, service industry, waiting tables through college, when the downturn hit a few years back, I hit some financial difficulties. I went back to that for a few months just to make ends meet and stuff like that. I think you learn some things, multitasking, which I think is a bad thing. You can't multitask and be effective in a lot of things, but you be organized. You don't, when you get in the weeds, you know how to get the heck out of it. But you also respect the service industry professionals a lot more and what they're doing. And I hate to say that, the get down and dirty aspect of things. I think sometimes we've all got to get down and dirty and pre-bust our business to clean up the shit that we stack up on our desks and stuff like that, so that we have a clean kind of path towards where we want to go, right?
Well, I'll tell you what, if I needed to, we talked about this before the show, I'd be waiting tables in a second if I needed to. Now that's not my passion.
Right.
So I would be doing that while I'm looking for the opportunity of what does inspire me. Okay. It doesn't matter what it is, you know, I'm full-heartedly believe that God gave us each a talent. That God gave us each a gift. And so I believe that we should seek what that gift within us is, and then position ourselves to be able to do that in life. And if for some reason circumstance gets in the way, you know, maybe you get sick, maybe there's a pandemic, you know, maybe there's something that gets in the way of you fulfilling, you know, your destiny, hey, no sweat, but keep your eye on that, so that I'll go wait tables for 6 months while I sit there and figure out how can I, you know, do my next deal. And then, you know, position yourself so that you can go back to being passionate with what you intend to do.
Mm-hmm. I know you're a fan of the one thing. I'm a huge fan of that.
Well, I knew I was going to comment on it when you mentioned about the multitasking, but I left it alone. You're reading, I think, page 47 of the book when you said that. So I was just going to leave it alone. But since you brought it up, go on.
Great minds think alike, brother.
I knew since you said that, I was like, yeah, that's one thing.
You sent me a copy of the book. The least I can do is read it.
There you go.
You know? But that's the thing, is that, you know, I think we get so bogged down as entrepreneurs, whether you're a real estate agent or real estate investor. A lot of times we run around like a chicken with our head cut off, trying to do all these little things. And I hate checklists. I'm a big fan of the big rock kind of thing. You know, get rid of the to-do list. They'll all fill itself out. But picking 1, 2, or 3 things that you really need to focus on each day, and make that the priority in your schedule, to get those things done, you'll be a lot further along. Those little things will fit in around everything around life, right?
I went on a fishing trip with my dad, and we met this guy from Colorado, real estate agent. And this guy he had this like $250,000 RV bus type thing that he would drive around the country, through Canada, all the way through Mexico, everywhere. And he would go hunting, fishing, etc., 8 months out of the year. 4 months out of the year, he would do an open house every afternoon at a $5 million listing, and from 2 p.m. till whenever. And he would get these high-end wine, and he would take the pheasants and the salmon that he caught and the whatever he would, you know, get and host it, you know, big spread. He does us 6 days a week, 4 months out of the year. That is his job description. My job description is I'm going to do an open house for 3 hours every single day. Then I'm going to go skiing with the people I just did the open house with. Then 8 months out of the year, I'm going to drive around the country, and these wealthy individuals that I meet, I'm going to go visit them and bring them a gift of some game that I just got. If you think about the simplicity of what I just shared with you, and also of the focus of it, I'm only going to do one thing. I'm just going to do an open house 3 hours a day, 6 days a week, 4 months out of the year, and then visit the people that I meet throughout the rest of the year. Like, that's a pretty cool business strategy.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be hard. This guy hit his stride. Now, for me, that wouldn't work because I have different priorities in my life.
Right.
Okay. My family is a priority in my life. But if I was a single man and I didn't, that was, hey, let's go for it. Like that seems like a good gig, for the right person. For him, it was a good gig.
After I got divorced back in 2008, I did that. I sold everything I owned and I actually traveled the country, what I thought would be 30 years. I know you're a baseball fan, you're a Nats fan, if I remember correctly, right? You saw the hat thing back behind there. Up there you go. And what I thought would be 30 weeks of travel and turned into 3.5 years of just traveling the country, speaking and sharing. That was such a huge marketing advantage because I was single, didn't have any strings, but it was able for me to identify different markets and launch the note business where we're at. So we're across the country versus just in my backyard here in Austin. So, but seeing the opportunity to that and seeing how the crystal clear your focus is, or your guy you're talking about there.
Yeah.
Identifying that crystal clear focus is often really difficult. You have any tips for people out there to help them identify that or identify their superpower, like you mentioned earlier on?
Yeah. So if you're looking at business is going to be driven by certain, like, if you think of them as sort of like fulcrums, sort of like pinpoints, you say, okay, what is that pinpoint? And in business, there's three major components of business. So the first is going to be lead generation. And this is for, if you are chasing notes, this is true to you. If you are looking for multifamily investment properties, for fix and flip, for buy and hold, it doesn't matter who you are, what you're doing. These concepts are true if you want to build a business. So the first part is to lead generate. On top of that lead generation is building an organization. On top of building that organization would be leadership. And those are the three pillars of business. Now, within that lead generation piece, which is the answer to your question, what is the advice? It goes back to what I said earlier, is almost anything works. There's thousands of ways that you could get business to lead generate. Find what it is that you enjoy to do. And then you do that every single day. That is your job description. And make it simple. You want to sit there, you want to say no more than 2 lead generation strategies for short-term business. And then you add on to that 1 long-term lead generation strategy. And the reason for that is because that long-term lead generation strategy is going to be more durable. It's going to protect against threats to your business, such as commoditization, technology, artificial intelligence, big data. And so that long-term strategy is probably going to be something around a geographic market or a psychographic market or sphere of influence, something along those lines. And it typically takes around 18 months to get that long-term lead generation strategy up and running significantly, which is why you need that 1 or 2 short-term lead generation strategies, because that feeds you today. But the challenge with the short-term lead generation strategies is they're at risk. They're at risk of a change in the marketplace. And then suddenly, the marketplace is delivering groceries to your doorstep. Do you think that the grocery store owners, anticipated that 10 years ago? If you need ice cream, you go to the store. Maybe you go to the 7-Eleven or Wawa or wherever you are, whatever the store is. What is it in Texas? It's
we've got a variety of 7-Eleven,
Circle K.
Yeah, Circle K, exactly. Right. Stripes, whatever,
Yeah, Circle K, that's not around here. So anyways, wherever it is, wherever you go, but what you didn't do was wait for a freaking drone to come in and drop the banana chocolate chip tub on top of your house, right? Like that didn't exist. And it quite doesn't exist right now, but it's almost there.
It's pretty close, man.
Yeah, it's pretty close, right? So what I mean by that is that the things that are threats to our business today those are the things that will threaten that short-term strategy. The long-term strategy will protect you.
I love it. And that's the truth, is things change. Let's talk about a little bit of change. People are talking about how, with these online and AI programs, are realtors going to be a big need in the future? What's your thoughts on that?
I think that let me take out that word think. There is an evolution in every industry in the world, including real estate agents. And so if you believe that it won't change, then I think that you're putting yourself at risk.
Mm-hmm.
And the only way, I may even actually clean that statement up. If you believe that it hasn't already changed, right, then you may be at risk. The pandemic, in my opinion, put on an acceleration of what was already happening, accelerated by about 5 years. Okay, because before the pandemic, could we do this? Could we have a conversation on Zoom in this manner? Yes. And were people doing it? Yes. Were people doing it as frequently as they are today? No. Were people delivering stuff to your doorstep? It was there, but not like it is today.
Right.
Okay, so when you're looking at you take real estate, for example. Right now, Zillow has Zillow Flex. Well, you know what Zillow Flex looks a whole heck of a lot like to me? It looks a lot like Redfin 6 years ago, when Redfin had partner agents. When Redfin was in about 4 to 6 markets across the country, and they would, instead of saying we're going to have an agent, instead we're going to set up a brokerage in Washington D.C., we're going to align ourselves with an agent. We'll give you an exclusive. Hey, you take all of our referrals, and we'll keep doing that until we can build enough of revenue and enough market share that we can no longer need you. And now we have our own brokerage in the same marketplace, right? That's where Redfin, a brokerage, and I respect all businesses, right? So I'm not talking negative about anything. It's just business. That's what they did, during that time period. Today, Zillow becomes a brokerage. And what are they doing today? They're doing Zillow Flex. But what do you think? I don't think that the real estate agent recognizes that for what it is. That is them just putting their foot into the marketplace until they can develop themselves to be their own brokerage. They have right now. They've got people there. There's brokerages that will have you go up to the door. You put in a code. You give them your driver's license. You scan that in, and you go into the property without an agent. That's existing today.
Yep. So
all that being said, what do you need to do for your business? You have to protect it through that long-term lead generation strategy, which is going to be about adding value and contributing and being a local market expert in whatever it is that you do. Mm-hmm. Okay, because what technology can't compete with, what Google can't compete with, Google can give you the information, but what Google cannot do is they cannot easily allow for a consumer to interpret that data. Okay, what I could do is I could take the data of the marketplace, share it with a consumer, and allow for them to understand what does that mean to them. I just got off the phone with a guy about an hour and a half ago. He says, Dan, we talked to 7 agents. The reason why we're going to hire you is because you were pragmatic in your approach. You had knowledge. You shared the information with us in a respectful way. And guess what? 5 other agents said they could sell my house for more money than you. But you gave us the data and you let us know what that means. And because of that, we're going to hire you. Right? That's something that when you develop that expertise, that it's hard for technology to be able to compete against that, boots on the ground. And so I would advise to anybody, no matter what your business is to study your craft, to become an expert in whatever it is that you do, and to be able to create relationships so that you're the go-to guy or gal. So when somebody has a question, instead of going to Google and getting a incomplete answer, they'll give you a call or send you a text or give you an email, say, hey, Dan, I was thinking about this. What are your thoughts? Right, and that's the way you position yourself to be able to compete against those threats.
We see that same thing as note investors, where we'll get lists of assets and make offers on them, but my offers will come in with some asterisks to the sellers, like this is the reason I'm offering this because of this, this, and this, versus just a blanket offer. And like some people, the more you can show, like you said, the knowledge and share that. And be honest with people. Yeah, it may show a value of we gotta love our Zillow values, it's estimates. Say it's worth 220, but really it's worth 140 because of this, and this, and the condition that it's in, or what's going on in the market or the neighborhood, or your comp is way off because it's not even a similar thing. So yeah, it's knowing your craft, knowing your market. I think is so huge these days versus oh, an online thing is just going to run that route and go without any knowledge,
Well, that's good. And that ties into commoditization when you're looking at business. So the word commodity means that in the absence of a perceived value, the consumer goes to the lowest price vendor.
Exactly.
So the key phrase in that statement is perceived value. Okay, because if you lack a perceived value in business, the only value you have is price. So if you want to be the lowest price guy or gal, then don't create a value. But if you want to actually be profitable, then you have to add value to what it is that you offer.
That's such a good statement there. You have to add, like, all you're doing is competing on price. You really have no place to go. It's not a long-term business model at all. So you've got to add that value no matter what you're doing.
Not only is it not long-term, but it's actually a losing proposition because there's other companies that have investors that will lose money to put you out of business because they have investors until they put everybody else out of business and then they jack their prices up. Mm-hmm. Amazon lost money for years. Zillow lost money for years. Mm-hmm. There are real estate brokerages publicly traded right now that are losing money hand over fist, but they're publicly traded and they have investors. So they're more interested in market share than they are profit. With the mindset, say, as we gain market share, then when we become the only brand, we can jack prices up and then we can become profitable through time.
Yeah, I think I saw an article just the other day that Amazon lost money for a couple of years selling diapers below cost to own diapers.com and run their competition out. Now they've jacked up the prices now that they've beat their competition.
I'm going to tell you, it's a shitty business.
It's a shitty business. Exactly. If you guys are listening to the podcast,
sorry about that, Scott. I hope that was not too bad.
It's hilarious. I love it. Throw the softball at you there and you hit it right out of the park there for you. If you guys are listening to this podcast, I highly encourage you to go over and watch the video because what we're going to cover now, Dan's got a sign behind him talking about despair, sustainability. And when I first saw it, you're going to crack up there where it says dangerous and erratic. I thought it said erotic. I was like, whoa, how's that going to be disparaging?
Yeah, maybe I need to bold that A, make sure that we can read that correctly.
Is that one way to get consistent, predictable income being erotic?
Well, for you or I, probably not, but maybe for others.
Exactly. Now, let's talk a little about your local market there. I mean, are you seeing things being just crazy overbid, overpriced with people moving in, or are you seeing the market kind of slowing down in different price points, Dan?
Well, first of all, my marketplace, this is probably true of most marketplaces, is a conglomerate. It's a conglomerate of many micro pockets of markets.
Yep.
Okay. So that being said, in general, right now, the market is slowing down. Okay. In general, the market seems to have plateaued. Okay, if you go back and you look, so we have some market dynamics in the Northern Virginia area, right outside Washington, D.C., that other areas don't necessarily have, because before the pandemic, in January 2018, Amazon had announced that they're bringing their second headquarters to our marketplace. So if you think, like, our economy right now in the Washington, D.C. area is the United States government. And I've always said, if our economy goes out of business, we're all screwed, so who cares anyways? Right. So if the United States government goes out of business, then the entire world is hurt. Okay, so I feel pretty good about my local economy. In the last several years, added to the United States government has been a technology corridor that is added to that economy as well. And so when you go back, when Amazon announced in 2018 that they're coming to our marketplace, about 35% less inventory, less people were selling, which we had anticipated March of 2020, that inventory would then hit the marketplace. Well, nobody predicted a pandemic. So right. March of 2020, you've got 3 months there, March, April, and May, deer in headlights. Nobody does anything. Nobody buys, nobody sells. June of 2020, people start buying. The inventory remains low. So in my marketplace, it's, remember, a dip from the Amazon and now another dip from the pandemic. And because of that, now you have aggressive pricing increasing from June of 2020 to June of 2021. And since June of 21, we've had pretty much a flat line. Now, again, I say that with a little asterisk because there's micro pockets within there where there's a little bit of difference, scenarios, but that in general is where we are in my local marketplace.
That makes sense. Totally makes sense. See that a lot in different parts of the country as well. Now, you're constantly working on yourself. I see a couple books on your desk behind you there.
Yeah.
What's something that you're really focused on right now, or getting coached at, or something you're really focused on improvement right now?
Yeah. So I've been finishing writing a course at findyourpotential.life. And that course is why it's the death of potential, why 87% of real estate agents quit. And so I've been putting a lot of time and energy and efforts into the completion of that portal. And we offer that particular class for free, by the way. Right. And so it's at www.findyourpotential.life. And so I've been putting a lot of time and effort into doing that. I've been putting a lot of time and effort into learning how to write. I've written a book before. And today I'm writing my second book. And as I'm doing that, I'm listening to Stephen King on writing. I'm listening to a couple other books as well in regards to just like, what is the craft of being able to communicate in a manner that inspires others to do something that's in their best interest. Mm-hmm. Because ultimately that's what I want to do. Right. I've been fortunate in business that I feel pretty privileged in business. I'm grateful. And I'm at a place in my career, in my life, where I just want to help others. And mostly what I want to help others is to avoid a lot of the challenges. I'm going to tell you, if I was sitting here and tell you, Scott, man, I've done, this and that, and it's been nothing but easy and success, that would be the biggest lie in the world. I've had more freaking failures than what you could imagine, but I've had one more success than I've had failure. So I'm on the good side of that. And so really in my life today, it's about teaching others to be able to avoid those challenges, because I think you mentioned about models, about people that lived before us. The greatest predictor of the future is the past. Mm-hmm. And if you want to know how to do something, you just simply need to find somebody who has already done what you want to do. And if you look in the mirror, I recommend to people, whoever that person may be, make them be somebody that if you looked in the mirror and they're looking back, they look physically almost just like you. Because that gets rid of a lot of the, but he did this because, that gets rid of a lot of that. Yep. And if they achieve whatever it is that you're intending to achieve, and they look a lot like you look, and they come from the same background as you, the same upbringing as you, then all you have to do to be able to achieve whatever it is that they're achieving is do what they did. And so that's really what I'm really focusing on now in my learning and my growth, is really just about modeling and about helping other people to achieve their success.
That makes a lot of good sense out there for you. Anything that you learned from what happened in the previous 13 years? Obviously, there's a lot learned. Obviously, down here. That's a loaded question there. But anything that stands out for you, that, because we talked about short-term and long-term stuff.
Yeah.
And I think, us that have been around doing things longer than 2 years or 3 years, who've been through a cycle or two, there's things that we see and start preparing for. What's one thing that you've kind of prepared from seeing that cycle kind of hitting again here? Obviously, it's different, but living through the last one.
Yeah, I was talking to my coach yesterday, and we had this same conversation yesterday because, I don't want to make, ruin this being evergreen, right? Because somebody may be listening to this 5 years from now, right? But right now we're doing this in August of 2021. And so right now what's happening is that a lot of the pandemic restrictions are coming back in different areas of the country. And so we're having this conversation yesterday, exactly what you're asking me, which is, okay, so what do we have to do today to be able to prepare for the potential of, of challenges coming up? I'll just sort of bullet point it, and it doesn't matter when you're listening to this, because this is good advice no matter when you're looking, when you're listening to this. Is two things. Number one, reduce your expenses. Number two, increase your lead generation. And if you do those two things, I had a conversation with my director of operations this morning. I said, Julene, I want you to reduce our expenses by $600 a month, right? Like, just now, that may be a big chunk of change cut out somebody's, or maybe a small. It doesn't matter what the number is, right? For me, it's a small little chunk, right? But hey, I'll take $600. Okay. And I said, can you do that? She said, yeah. I said, by when could you do that? I'll do that by Sunday. Okay, great. Okay. And then on Sunday, I think I know what the question is going to be on Sunday. Let's cut out another 600 of expenses, right? And it's just basically just holding whatever dollar that you spend accountable for a result. If you're investing in notes, and maybe you're lead generating and you're approaching a certain person and you're mailing to them, well, take a look in, do I have enough budget to be able to continue mailing to this person, and what are the results? Okay, if you look at that as a marketing effort, you could consider any marketing effort that you do is that you have 18 months in reserves for just that marketing effort before you start whatever it is that you're doing, which that helps you to not quit early. So it's a balance of, well, I'm not going to quit doing something early because I know if I do it long enough, it will work. But in the same sense, do I have an assistant that is the work that assistant's doing is helping me create more time, helping me create more revenue? Because if you can't demonstrate that they are, then is that a good, investment of your money? Right. Probably not, but those are the types of conversations you have to have.
Yeah, no, that's so good point. Keep lead generation, keep marketing first mindset, I think, is what I always like to say. People, hey, keep sharing things. I had somebody the other day, I don't want to keep doing videos. I'm like, well, why not? Well, I'm just not seeing any immediate results. I'm like, you got to realize that's a long-term play.
Yeah.
But it builds all you need is one person to see it and go from there in a different direction.
Not only that, but it's videos particularly. I was at a party, at a birthday party, an adult, a friend of mine had a birthday party. Yeah, so you go back to that erotic right now. No, it was just a party, right? It was just a party, right? And we're at her house the other day, and you completely made me forget what I was about to tell you, man. Come on.
About video.
And so one of the things that one of the guests there said to me, he said, Dan, you're like always throwing stuff out there, and you're always, creating content. What I realized is that's not quite true. What is true is I've been doing this for 15 years. Okay. And because it seems like I'm always doing it just because I keep doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Because you do a video, you do a podcast, like this conversation you and I, Scott, are having. I don't know when somebody's going to listen to this or view it. Okay. And if you do this once a week for a year, that's 50 pieces of content that stay out there for the rest of time.
Yeah.
Right. So I think the video in of itself is something that's sort of a special thing to do because it will stay out there forever.
Yeah.
So that's something that, it not only is good to do, but it's also has legs for longevity.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree with that. You got to plant some seeds. You never know when things will harvest there for you.
Yeah.
Dan, what's the best way for people to connect with you, find out more about what you got going on, keeping up with you?
Well, you can always find me on social media. I make myself easy to find. There's the CPI Community on Facebook where salespeople mastermind to be able to help each other develop. And there's two groups. There's a public group and a private group. It's the private group that I would invite somebody to apply to join. And also, the website that I mentioned with the online learning portals that we have, the micro learning at www.findyourpotential.life. There's some free training on there. There's the, why 87% of agents fail, the death of potential. And, some great education on there that I offer to friends of yours, Scott.
I appreciate that, Dan. It's very valuable information. That's why we have you on here today, the Note Closer Show. I want to thank you for coming on and hanging out with me on a Thursday afternoon here. You got big plans for the upcoming weekend?
Big plans for the weekend. Yeah, I think my daughter is going to my brother's house. My daughter, my mom lives with us, so it's got to be a husband and wife weekend. So we'll be able to enjoy time with each other, and I'm not sure what we're going to do, but what that probably means is I'll probably be painting or something.
Well, hopefully that I was going to say turns it from erratic to erotic there.
No, I'll be fixing something, I'm sure. Come on, man.
Nothing wrong with honey.
That was half a lifetime ago. What you're talking about is
good stuff there, brother. Well, hey, man, thanks for coming and hanging out with us.
Thank you.
So, hey, guys and gals, take what Dan said. Check out his website there. So valuable information. Listen to what he was talking about. There's things that what he said you can apply to your business today, no matter what it is. You can apply it and stick with it, and you'll see success if you give it time and you focus on make sure you're blocking your schedule and then getting rid of the distractions, the shiny objects. They're saying no to distractions is actually saying yes to your short-term and your long-term success. So go out, take some action, buddy, and we'll see you all at the top, everybody. Bye.